This week's case was a recommendation by DJ Rick Vale. So thank you for the recommendation, DJ, and wow, what a doozy it is. Content warnings include cannibalism, necrophilia, and a screwed up justice system. So, let's get started. Hello everyone! If you are new here, my name is Brandy, and every Friday I bring you a true crime case or mystery with one or more of my fabulous felines. For my returning subscribers, welcome back my feline friends, and a big thank you to my feline fans who help support this channel. I'm back in my old spot, but with some changes. I did rearrange a bit because we have a wall of feline fame, and I wanted to show that off in the background. I love this art. If you want to know how to get your pet with this same art, get in the description box below and look for Paws Art. I hope you like this new setup. It's a lot more comfortable for me, and it's a lot less work to set up because I don't have like a studio. Also, I have an announcement. Many of you have asked for it, and it's finally here. I have merchandise! Yay! Boo-boo! Merchandise! Say, go, mommy, go! Go, mommy, go! I'm sorry this took some time. I've been asked about it for a while, but I really wanted to research the right company to work with. Well, hello! I had a lot of factors to consider based on like my personal preferences and what I would like to do. So I finally decided on Threadless. Do you want to be on camera? Should I do a canine edition? This was the company that worked for me the best because one, their prices, they're pretty reasonable. You're not going to pay $70 for a hoodie. I love hoodies, but I ain't gonna spend that. There are lots of different products options. It's not just t-shirts. They have like bags and mugs and shoes and wall art and stuff that we can add. And they allow me to actually add in a charity as well. They will directly donate any profits to that charity, but I get to promote it on the site as well. So that was important to me also because I do plan on in the future doing a few special designs where all the profits will go to a local shelter or TNR or anything to help promote and save our beautiful felines. Mwah. Right, Freddie? And they also have a couple perks for you as the customer, and that's important to me too because you just don't want a static shop that never changes. They also will do various sales now and then and promotions where you can save money. Sorry, Freddie's messing with my camera. So right now there's a promotion going on that all regular t-shirts are only 15 bucks. Usually they're 21 bucks. So this is a pretty good deal. And also they're doing a free shipping promotion. So if you use the code FREESHIP21, then anything over $45 you get free shipping on. So this promotion ends November 15th if you want in on this deal, okay? So what products do I offer in my shop? Well, I'll tell you. First of all, let me show you the designs. I first have my True Crime and Felines logo. I know it's a little boring, but But I do have another design that I hope that you will find very awesome. And it's based on a popularity of a coffee mug that I had that everybody just flipped out about in one of my previous videos. I have the design Per Evil. Now this is Black Phillip as a kitten, and it was the perfect picture to use on this design. So thank you, Black Phillip. So both the True Crime logo and the Per Evil design are available right now on t-shirts, hoodies. Now there is a regular pullover hoodie and a zip up hoodie, and so, you know, because everybody likes something different, but I will say on the zip up hoodie, the design's on the back, not the front, so just be aware of that. And then I also have mugs, and I have 3 different mugs. I have a regular coffee mug, a latte mug, which is a little bigger, and then a travel mug. And then I have stickers and magnets of various sizes. So those are what I have in my shop right now. I can add more products, but I wasn't going to add the whole gambit right now. I do have some samples ordered, but unfortunately they're not going to be here until next week. Next video, I hope to show you the actual products. Also, I'm not listed in the artist marketplace because I'm brand new to the site. So if you go to like threadless.com, you won't be able to find me. You actually have to use the direct link to my shop in the description box below to go directly to my shop. Okay, so self-promotion over. On to this week's case. Okay, so Issei Sagawa. I'm sure I said that wrong and I'm sorry. But Issei Sagawa was born April 26th, 1949 in Japan. He was born into a very wealthy family. His grandfather was auditor of one of the newspapers that was like one of the 4 top newspapers in Japan. So he did very well for himself. And then his father was president of the Kurita water industries, and he did very well for himself. His mother stayed at home and took care of the family. Issei had problems before he was even born. Okay, so his mother, while pregnant with him, actually fell down some stairs and she almost miscarried him, but they were able to save him and he was born. Well, he was born premature, of course, and he was so small that they said he could actually fit in his father's hand. Now, Issei ended up developing an infection of the small intestine, and he had to get treatment for that, which accounted for like potassium and other antibiotics ingested like straight into your abdomen. It cured him and he got over that, but it caused other issues, such as he had growth development issues and he just had overall health frailty. He just wasn't a healthy person. And he was just a small child who ended up being a small man in adulthood as well. Now, Issei did have a younger brother that was 2 years younger than him, but because of Issei's frailty, you know, they were kind of the same size, so they were kind of raised like twins, and the 2 brothers were very close. Both brothers stated that they grew up in a very loving home. There was nothing unusual about it. The only thing Issei would say is that the subject of sex was very taboo to talk about in the family. Like, they just didn't talk about it, like it didn't exist. So he never really got like the birds and the bees talk. So the first time Issei got his first pop-up, you know, when men get excited, something pops up, you get it. Anyway, the first time he got one of those, he didn't know what to do. And he didn't know that there was like a manual way to relieve it. And so he was trying to find a way to relieve it, and he ended up with his family dog to relieve it. Ugh. Anyway, so as you can imagine, this only distorted his like sexual desires, and as he got older, him and his thoughts and feelings just got more morbid. So when Issei was in 1st grade, like, what are you, like 6 or 7 in 1st grade, he found himself attracted to like a fellow classmate. And, you know, they're sitting in their desks and the classmate, she's wearing shorts. So like her thigh is showing and he's staring at her thighs. And his first thought is, those are some good looking thighs. I want to bite it. He realized from then on that his thoughts weren't really normal. He even realized that at one point he may need help for his thoughts and desires and urges, but he never followed through with it because he felt it would bring shame to his family. So in 1974, Issei was 24 years old, and Issei developed an interest in literature because, he grew up kind of a loner. He didn't really have many friends. He just kind of hung out with his brother. And so literature kind of became his escape, and he really got into it. So he was going to college and attending Wake University in Tokyo. Now, there was a tall German woman that he would see regularly when whether it was in his classes or when he left class, I'm not sure. But he just started following her around, like stalking her. But instead of like trying to get to know her or, try to become intimate with her, he wanted to eat her. So he would like regularly follow her home and then like watch her through the windows and everything. And then one night he decided to act on his urges. So this woman went to bed and shut off all the lights and everything, and he waited a bit, and then he would break in to her apartment. He says his intent at the time was that he wanted to just take a bite out of her buttocks, and to do this he had to incapacitate her somehow, and like you can't just go in for the bite and expect her not to wake up, right? Well, he finds this umbrella, in the apartment, and he decides to grab that, and he's going to hit her with it to try to knock her out at least. Well, in him mulling around the apartment, she wakes up and she catches him. So remember, Issei is, he's not a very big man because of his growth issues. He's actually only like 4'9" tall. So he's under 5 feet tall, and he's very skinny and thin. So this woman actually has no problem like manhandling him and like throwing him to the ground, and then she went and called police, and Issei then like skedaddled out of the apartment. Now police did end up finding Issei later, and they did arrest him. Issei would tell authorities that he was actually attempting to sexually assault this woman because he wanted to keep his true intentions a secret. So he was charged with attempted sexual assault, but then the charges were suddenly dropped. Apparently, Issei's father, very rich man, offered the woman a settlement. If I give you this money, you'll drop the charges. And the woman agreed because, really at the time, the woman had no idea that Issei was there to eat her. So she accepted, and the charges got dropped. So of course Issei didn't learn anything, and he pretty much got away with what he was trying to do, which didn't deter him from trying again. Thanks, Dad. So in 1977, when Issei was 27, he had moved to Paris, France to pursue a PhD in literature. Now he's getting his doctorate. He's still having these urges, but instead of like stalking women, what he'd do is he would go and he would get a prostitute and he would bring them home. And he stated that his plan was that he was going to shoot them and then eat them. But the problem was Issei was actually pretty squeamish. He had a problem with blood. What a combination, right? You want to eat somebody, but you don't like blood. Okay, so when he would get the prostitute in his place, he never could follow through. Like, he would always chicken out. He would never pull the trigger. But Issei would say, like, this was kind of one of his goals, that he wanted to follow through and eat a woman before his urges like stopped, because he thought as he got older his urges would go away. Well, he was very wrong about that. But by 1981, he's now 32 years old. So Issei had invited his fellow classmate Renee Hartefeld to dinner at his place under the guise of translating poetry for a class assignment. Now, Renee was a Dutch woman who was 25 years old, and she was also attending the same college, getting her PhD in literature as well. And she spoke 3 different languages, so Issei was attracted to her not only for her, smarts and intelligence, but she was also very healthy and beautiful, and Issei felt that, like health and beauty is something that he lacked because he was such a small, frailty man. But nonetheless, like Renee and Issei both shared a lot of interest together And they were friends. Like, Renee did see him as a good friend, but that's all she saw him as, a friend. She was not interested in any more than that. And Issei was, of course, attracted to her and wanted more. Now, Issei would confess his love to Renee, and she did her best to let him down easy, which he stated he understood. So he invites her over to his house for dinner to translate this poetry, and he decided that his actual real intention for her coming over was he was going to kill her and eat her. And by doing that, then he would then absorb her energy of health and beauty, apparently. So while Renee was sitting at a desk translating this poetry, Issei snuck up behind her with a .22 caliber rifle and shot her in the neck. Renee pretty much died instantly. Issei, sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Issei passed out after this. After he shot Renee, he passed out. I mean, I told you he was squeamish. I've never heard of a squeamish cannibal, but apparently he was. Now, when he woke, he realized that he actually carried out the first part of his plan. And he did think for a minute to call the police, but then he's like, wait a minute, this was my goal. Why would I call the police when I'm this close to my goal and I should just finish it out? So Issei went right for it right away and like bit into Renee's flesh. But what he realized is that his jaw was not strong enough and his teeth weren't sharp enough to penetrate the skin. So that wasn't working. So he left and went and bought a butcher knife and came back. Then he began like cutting pieces off of Renee, starting with like her butt, her breasts, some of her face. And he actually kept Renee's body for a couple days while he did this. And he would actually take pictures of her body throughout the different stages of him cutting pieces off. Now, while he was doing this, it would excite him. And you know, he's doing his goal. He's doing his urge that he's had ever since he was in first grade. That he was getting excited, and he got a little too excited. And he ended up having sex with Renee's corpse. He then would upgrade from a butcher knife to an electric knife because it was way easier. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's so insane. Anyway, so Issei wound up consuming various parts of Renee's body. He would eat it raw, and then he would cook it, and he would try it with various like sauces and condiments. And then he would wrap up and save other parts for later and put it in his refrigerator. Okay, Dahmer. If you ever wondered what human flesh tastes like, well, let me tell you what Issei said. Issei said that when you grab the right flesh, like through the fat and to the actual meat, that it would melt in your mouth like tuna. So there you go. Now you know. Don't go out killing somebody just to see what human flesh tastes like. When Isai determined, after a couple days, Renee's body started, spoiling, so to speak, and flies started coming in, he decided that, it's time to get rid of the body. So he ended up dismembering it and then putting her into 2 different suitcases. He called a cab and asked the cab to take him to this very popular park that had a lake in it, because his plan is to take these suitcases to the lake and just throw them in. Well, it was about 8 p.m. at night, and these suitcases were super heavy, and this little, under 5 foot, very skinny man is, dragging these 2 suitcases through the park. And there's a lot of people there because it's a popular park, even that late at night. And these people are just watching him carry these suitcases in and, struggle with them and everything. And they're not doing anything, but they're just like, this is weird. So he finally makes it down to the lake, and he finds a spot that's a little bit more secluded where he feels not so many eyes are on him. And he actually drops the suitcases that about, 5 or 6 feet from the lake shore. And then he just needs a breather. Like, he just give him a second because he was exhausted at this point. And he just walks down to the edge of the water, and he's kind of enjoying what he says the sun setting, and it's a beautiful sunset. Well, somebody walking by sees these suitcases that are about 5 to 6 feet behind him, kind of off the trail, and it's a man, and he says, "Hey, are these suitcases yours?" Well, Issei, finding an opportunity to, not have to drag these suitcases down to the lake because they were so heavy, saw this opportunity to be like, "No, they're not mine." And then he just walked away. So the man, of course, kind of opens the suitcase while Issei's walking away to see what's in them. Well, of course, he sees the contents in the suitcase, and he starts yelling, "Murderer! Murderer!" And of course, this, attracts all these people, and Issei just kept walking like he didn't hear anything. And he's ignoring the scene that's forming around these suitcases. So the police are called, obviously, and they state that many eyewitnesses talk about this little Asian man struggling with these suitcases in the park and dragging them down to the lakeside. So it's not like nobody knew and nobody saw anything. The suitcases are confiscated and they're investigated on the contents, and they're trying to determine what happened to this poor woman that were in these suitcases. And they see that she's missing skin and stuff. So police reach out to the cab companies as well, and they're like, if you had a small Asian man with 2 heavy suitcases in your cab, please call us. Well, guess what? The cab driver that took Issei to the park called the police and was like, "Yeah, I had a small Asian man in my cab, and he had 2 suitcases, and I was helping him put the suitcases in the cab, and they were really heavy, and I even said to him, 'What do you got in here? Dead bodies?'" For those wondering, Issei's response to that was, "No, they're just a lot of books." It takes about 4 days, but they figure out who this small Asian man is, and Issei was identified, and he was, arrested. Now, Issei did confess immediately. There was no "what are you doing here? I don't know anything." He right away said, "Yeah, I killed her to eat her flesh." It just came out. So he's taken to the station, and they're interviewing him, and he actually says that if Renee would have been willing to give him some of her urine or some of her pubic hair, that would probably be enough to satisfy him, that he wouldn't have felt like he had to kill her. But he was so embarrassed to ask her for those things that the only remaining option was to kill her. I mean, I'm sure if somebody asked me for that, I'd be like, "No." But if I was given the choice, either give me that or I'm going to kill you and eat you, I'd be like, "Okay, here." Okay, so Issei is now arrested. And of course, here comes Issei's father, and he provides Issei with a top-notch, very expensive defense lawyer. Now, Issei does sit in jail for 2 years as he's waiting for the trial, because there was no bond or anything where he could get out. Now, Issei's brother, his younger brother that he was really close with, he would come out publicly in support of his brother, and he would try to explain it away or something, and say that he himself had urges, and they were the same urges as Issei, but apparently his brother never acted on them. This then made it back to Issei because it was public, and Issei then spoke out and was like, "You know what? My brother may have urges, but they are nothing like mine, and mine are more severe and more dark than his will ever be." And it started this "I'm worse than you" kind of battle in the public. What sort of effed up sibling rivalry is this? So 2 years after being arrested, Issei's trial finally starts and then immediately ends. He was found unfit to stand trial because he was deemed legally insane. And when you're found legally insane, the recommendation in France is that Issei was to spend an indefinite amount of time in a mental institution, and then all the charges would be dropped. at least he's locked up. Hold your horses, kids. It gets worse. While in this French mental institution, he is visited by this Japanese author, and this author wants to write a book. And so he talks to Issei about his account of the murder, and the book is then published, and it's called In the Fog. Now, this book sold well. It became pretty popular. And they say the reason is not only because it's Issei's account of the crime, but it also, in the book, had photographs, so like Issei's photographs of Renee, and then also police photographs of Renee's dismembered body in the suitcases that were leaked from the police department. So he somehow got a hold of these and then published them in the book. Now, because the book did well, Issei kind of became this macabre celebrity. And French authorities were like, yeah, we don't like this. He needs to be deported to Japan. We do not want somebody like this in our country. So French authorities then deported Issei to Japan. And Issei went right into a mental institution in Tokyo. Here's the thing, though. Since the charges in France were dropped, meaning that Issei couldn't be found guilty of them, the records then get sealed, which then means they cannot be released to like any other agency because they're sealed. So when he got transferred to Tokyo, his court documents and stuff didn't get transferred with him. Japan authorities could not press charges on him because there were no evidence and there was no court documents of what happened. It's really messed up. Then, on top of that, the psychologists at the Japanese mental institution would deem Issei sane. And they would state that his only motivation for this crime was sexual perversion. So he was sane, but just like a bad guy. So legally, because of the court document thing, and now that he was sane, legally, Japan could not detain him anymore. And Issei was free to go. On August 12th, 1986, 5 years after the crime, Issei signed himself out of the hospital and has been a free man ever since. Go, justice system. So, you may ask, what has Issei been up to since his release? Well, from the date of his release, he has been a very busy man. In Japan, he became a celebrity. Now, it's okay to like true crime. I am a true crime fan. It's, very interesting. But what I will tell you is I'm not making somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer out to be this celebrity that I look up to. Okay? People need to get better idols. Anyway, he became this celebrity in Japan because of this whole case. And one paper had wrote a headline that he became a folk hero. A folk hero? A hero? Can we just drop the hero? How about folklore? Anyway, he was invited to write an article in a magazine about his crime, which he did. He was paid for. He did many, many paid interviews. He created a comic book, which included graphic illustrations of his crime. He wrote many books, about 20 or so. He was in movies, TV shows as a guest star. He was part of many documentaries. A lot of them paid him to be in them. He was known to be a food critic. I'm sorry. A food critic. It's just so ironic. I mean, I guess he's tried everything. Anyway, it's just so wrong. Anyway, okay, so moving on. He was getting a lot of offers as well to be in adult movies. which he took up their offer, and so he was in a couple. Now, one specific, like, adult, I guess it was more like a TV show. It was kind of like a reality type TV show where he was to spend like 24 or 48 hours in an apartment with another adult film actress, and then they were just supposed to, have sex for those 24, 48 hours, which they did. And then after like the first time they had sex, apparently Issei like just started sharing with his, co-star his past, because she had no idea. She had no idea who he was. He just starts talking about his crime and what he did and all this stuff. And like, she just starts crying because like she realizes she's in this apartment with a murderer, and this is all being filmed. So it's like live streamed out like a reality TV show. So this is all on video, But the weird part is like, he didn't hurt her or anything. And later they become like really good friends. And she even said that she, because of their friendship, she helped him control his urges so he didn't hurt anybody. I don't even want to know what she did, but okay. Years go by, and of course the interest in his case dies down a bit, like it does, right? And then in 2009, Issei would do an interview with a magazine. And he would state that even though he was not in jail, that finding a job, because he was a known murderer, was very difficult. And he suffered through the years, and it was just pure torture. Really, Issei? You're a free man. Jerk. Also in the interview, he stated that his urges never went away. They never subsided, but he never acted on them. Do we really know that for sure? We may never know. But he had a goal. You want to guess what that goal was? That he still, before he died, he still wanted to eat one more person before he died. So, yeah, he's learned nothing. He's not rehabilitated. And I don't care if you say he's sane or not. This man needs locked up. In 2013, Issei actually suffered a cerebral infarction, which is like where oxygen or blood flow is not getting to the brain. And it permanently damaged his nervous system. So he's confined to a wheelchair now. Too bad. And he needs daily assistance from caregivers, and his younger brother will help him out as well. And he stated now he has a new dream. Now that he kind of realizes that he's not going to be able to follow through with eating somebody else. He says that his new dream is that he wants to be killed slowly and painfully, preferably by a beautiful woman. Is that something we can hire out? So what are your thoughts on this case? My thoughts? What the This case is so messed up. Like, I was aware of this guy and how he was like, a cannibal and that he killed somebody, but I didn't know like all the details until it was, recommended to me to research. And I'm doing this research and I'm just like, every turn I'm going, what? It's insane. And I want to say sorry to Renee and her family. Like, they really got screwed. And they were denied justice in this. It's just really sad. And that's really all I have to say, or I'm going to go off on a profanity-laced rant. Anyway, I would love to hear what you think in the comments down below. If you would like to become a feline friend, please hit that subscribe button. If you would like to become a feline fan, please hit that join button. For special perks, please check out my merchandise. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear any ideas on designs or future products that you may want to see, and I can see what I can do. So thank you guys. Let me know about this new setup too, if this works. I will say that it's so much easier, and I hope you like it. I don't have any cats behind me. I have Bebo down here. You want to see Bebo? Bruce, sorry, I call him Bebo. There's Boo Boo. He's my baby, yes. Oh my goodness. All right, well, thanks guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.